Hello everybody and welcome to AusSim Votes, the ABC's coverage of the AusSim September 2019 election. Let's look at some of the 10 seats that will go up to election this time. The first one is Pearson WA, which is being contested by Horror HQ of the SDP and the Liberal Wolf 223. It used to be Bashari's old seat, so it does lean left. Very left. Looking at our prediction software, we predict that it will be an SDP retain with a 0.7% margin. The next seat up for grabs is the seat of Sydney, New South Wales, which is being contested by Riley 8583, who is an MP and leader of the National Party, and the SDP member NG Spy. Sydney represents the Sydney CBD and the surrounding suburbs, and there's been a hot debate between these two candidates. Looking at our election prediction, we predict that it will be a national retain with a margin of 3.2%. The final hot contest of this election will be the seat of Moncrieff in Queensland, which represents the Gold Coast, the Toowoomba region, and the hinterland and new expansion suburbs of the Brisbane City area. More importantly, it is between Pineapple Crusher, who was a former Prime Minister and current MP, and newcomer to Australian politics, Plupsnap. Our prediction software, we predict that it will be a 0.2% retain to the Liberals. This will be a tight race, and given this is only a prediction, we will not know the full results until all of the ballots have been counted. Now let's have a look at some of the members who got elected via walkover. Walkover, for those who don't know, is the process of getting elected into a seat unopposed. As such, you are the only candidate for that seat and therefore elected without requiring a vote. To begin, the newly formed SDP's leader, Umaton, and former Prime Minister, was elected to represent her home city of Canberra. She has previously represented Canberra before, so it is no surprise that no one decided to challenge her. On that same note, SDP member Matt Monty, who has historically represented Mayo and is a strong advocate for South Australia, including being the leader of the SA Best Party, has been elected unopposed in Mayo. Next, the leader of the opposition, Porridge, and the leader of the Liberal Party, Porridge, was elected in Brisbane, his home city. Similarly, Manly Kitten, a very eminent rural Australian and Member of Parliament, was elected for the Liberals in the seat of Cowper in northern New South Wales. UDP member Locke 1999 from Victoria has been elected to represent Melbourne. And finally, Independent Show Stealer 1829, who retired from politics but has now returned, will be representing the seat of Nichols, which used to be SGN Heartland. So it is a big surprise that he was not contested in that seat. Even though only 6 electorates have been cast so far, let's bring up the map. The map clearly shows that there is a correlation between both of the parties' seats and their locations. For example, Cowper and Brisbane are both more conservative seats, comparative to Nichols, Melbourne and Mayo. Hence the Liberal Party has been able to win in both Brisbane and Cowper, whereas the UDP and the SDP have been targeting city seats and southern seats. The ABC will now be moving on to the Prime Minister's seat. The Prime Minister Diljem recently faced a vote of no confidence and was forced to call an early election due to losing the confidence of the House. However, luckily for him, he is against an independent who is in essence a paper candidate. The ABC predicts that Diljem will have no problem, so there is no reason not to call the result now. As it can be seen with ABC's data collected from polling booths, Diljem is polling at 94.54% with over a quarter of the vote counted. This is extremely impressive, and it is safe to say that Diljem will be elected in Denison. This is obviously on the back of his continued representation of Denison and the fact that he is the Prime Minister. On a similar theme, based on the data the ABC is receiving, it is no doubt that Bloody Chrome will be returned into Parliament by representing the seat of Lingiari. Even though Bloody Chrome is facing Dexter Ammo, who recently represented the Liberals in the Lingiari by-election, which was called off to hold the general election, Bloody Chrome will easily win due to his support from Territorians and his long-standing service to the House. As it is seen by the votes coming in, there is no doubt that Bloody Chrome will be returned in his seat. Not only is the margin already 81%, but it's already at 36% of the count, and there will be little chance that this could be reversed. The ABC has just received some more polling data in Pearce and has discovered that as current, Wolf 223 is outpolling Horror HQ by about 5% of the vote. This is against what we predicted earlier, given that Horror HQ is in a historically revolutionary socialist seat, therefore should play well with left-wing voters. However, maybe the people of Pearce are wanting a change. However, this must be taken with a grain of salt, as only 23.6% of the vote has been counted, and specific polling booths in specific areas have returned earlier than others, which may be altering the vote count displayed to us. The ABC has just received confirmation that the Audible Ash is receiving around 6% of the vote in Capricornia, despite it being an historically green seat. This is continuing the growing trend of Liberal resurgence in Queensland and northern New South Wales, particularly given that Pineapple Crusher, the former Prime Minister, may win the seat of Moncrieff, completing the trifecta of blue in Queensland. At the moment anyway, the ABC will be calling the seat of Capricornia for the Liberals and for the Audible Ash. Looking at the map of seats decided so far, it is clear to see that there has been a growing resurgence of right-wing values in Queensland, with the growing endorsement of the Liberal Party. Similarly, there has been a large amount of progressivism in the lower states, owing to the election of the UDP and the SDP. However, this map does pose a pressing issue for both the SDP and the UDP. Both parties are running out of seats they can win in. For example, the UDP can only win in Moncrieff now, and it will be very tough considering they're against the former Prime Minister, Pineapple Crusher. This map so far is, however, good for the Liberals, as they have the ability to win in Pearce and Moncrieff, and if with their national partners they can win in Sydney and Hotham, they will only need confidence and supply from one independent in order to form government. We are now going to go to some shock results in the seat of Cunningham in New South Wales. The seat currently has a margin of 1.02% to the Agrarians and therefore the SDP. However, Hazard Arrow, the SDP candidate, is up against the independent BHJR132, who has been running for the Sunripe Tomato Party, which many have been calling a joke political party. As can be seen, with 36.76% of the vote counted, BHJR is currently leading by around a margin of 1.3% of the vote. This brings about a swing of 1.67% away from the left-leaning parties, particularly the Agrarians and the SDP, towards the independent candidate BHJR132. As such, the ABC will not be calling this electorate at this stage, but will be doing so later tonight. We have just received confirmation that will allow us to call the seat of Robertson in New South Wales. New South Wales is being contested by Drunk King Robert, who was an independent and former Prime Minister, and SDP member Jaden DeGamer-15, who was the Speaker while he was a member of the United Democrat Party, and is an MP. With the results coming in so far, around half of the votes in the electorate, Drunk King Robert is in a comfortable lead of around 3%, and we are happy to call the electorate for the independent Drunk King Robert. In some breaking news, the ABC has received information which will lead to the confirmation of the seat of Sydney in New South Wales between Riley 8583, who is an MP and leader of the Nationals, and SDP candidate NGS White. The ABC considers the seat to watch, given how close the race has been. Looking at the count, ABC polling shows that Riley 8583 is ahead by around 3% and will win on a swing of 0.2% of the vote. Looking at the map of the electorate so far, it can be seen that Drunk King Robert and Riley 8583's respective wins have complicated the seats. This just put both major parties or major coalitions in the position where it will be very difficult to form government without reaching some form of confidence and supply agreement with others. This is particularly perplexing given the seats left. Moncrieff and Pearce, a very tight contest between the UDP and the Liberals, which will make it interesting and will likely decide this election. On to some recent developments in the seat of Cunningham between the independent BHJR and Hazzardaro. The ABC predicts that the independent BHJR will win, as we have reported earlier, by a margin of 1.67% of the vote. With over 72% of the votes counted, we would like to confirm this decision and add it to the tally of seats no longer in doubt. We apologise for the delay in calling Hotham. However, data from polling booths took a long time to reach the ABC's databank. Hotham was elected. Hotham is represented by Super Pac-Man 04 from the National Party, who was elected unopposed there last time. As such, it should be an easy win for him. Looking at the results which recently just came in to the ABC databank, it is clear to see that Super Pac-Man 04 has comfortably won the seat of Hotham once again. Along with that recent confirmation of that other seat, we've also now received confirmation of Wolf 332 and Horror HQ's seat of Pearce. It has been a very, very, very tight race between the two seasoned campaigners. Looking at the results coming in, it appears that Wolf 223 will win the seat by around 0.8 percentage points. It has been a very close race, and this seat will define whether the LNP or whether the SDP and the UDP will form a coalition government. Now we are on to the seat which will likely decide this night, the seat of Moncrieff in Queensland. This seat is home of Pineapple Crusher, the former Prime Minister and current MP. He's facing up against paper candidate, independent, Imno Fox, and the prominent UDP member, Plupsnups, who is new to Australian politics. Plupsnup, even though he is very popular in the area, is predicted to lose the seat due to Pineapple Crusher's former prime ministership and his popularity among voters. However, unexpectedly, Plupsnups is currently very far in the lead without any preferences being distributed. The trouble for Plupsnups is that the majority of Imno Fox's preferences will flow towards the Liberal candidate, Pineapple Crusher, due to his popularity amongst voters and his historic nature within the region. With 79.2% of the vote counted, the ABC would like to declare the seat towards Plupsnup by a slim majority of just 1.04 percentage points. That brings the total amount of UDP seats up to 4 and puts the balance of seats 6 for the LNP and 6 for the SDP and UDP coalition. This will mean that if either coalition wants to form government, it will be a requirement they work with the independents in order to achieve confidence in supply. That brings the ABC's coverage of Australia votes at the 2019 AusSim election to a close. As can be seen on the map, it has been a very hotly contested election. It will be interesting to see which party is able to negotiate with the independents in order to form confidence and supply required to form government, or even if either the Nationals and the Liberals or the UDP and the SDP can remain in coalition long enough for that to suffice.